The MAGA movement just detonated from within. 3 words from Elon Musk have ignited a firestorm that's consuming Trump's inner circle. Steve Bannon, Epstein files, public accusation, but here's what should terrify you. The FBI says the files don't exist, so how does Elon know? What has he seen that we haven't? Well, right now, as we speak, the FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino is reportedly packing his office, ready to resign over this entire mess. Attorney General Pam Bondi is under siege. The forensic evidence now shows that the Epstein footage was actually edited 4 times. Now, this isn't just another scandal. This is the unraveling of everything, and the cover-up is cracking. The players are turning on each other. Keep watching, because we have all of the details. Now, you probably think your 401k is safe, but it wasn't designed to make you wealthy. It was built to shift retirement costs and risk onto you, leaving your savings exposed to crashes, inflation, and chaos. But Americans are waking up and taking control with real assets like gold, and Noble Gold Investments has helped thousands secure their future by converting part of their 401k into a tax-advantaged gold IRA without penalties or headaches. It's safe, simple, and smart. Visit nextnewsgold.com to get your free wealth protection kit and discover how to safeguard your savings. Open a qualified account today and receive 2 5-ounce silver America the Beautiful coins free. And they're beautiful coins. That's nextnewsgold.com. Your exit from the danger zone, and that number on the screen, 877-646-5347. Tell Colin when you call that Gary Franchi sent you. Just tell him I said hi. Would you do that for me? Okay, all hell's breaking loose, folks. All hell is breaking loose. And there's only one man laughing. That's Jeffrey Epstein from either hell or the Witness Protection Program. This is the scene, an artistic rendition of what is happening right now in the Trump administration. Accusations flying, classified memos leaking, files getting buried, just hell breaking loose. But this is what's crazy. Okay, this news is coming out. I mean, okay, before I even get to everything, what we're talking about today wouldn't be possible without free speech and social media. Whether it's YouTube, whether it's X, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, pick your poison. None of the information that we are able to transmit to the world would be able to get out without these platforms. Free speech. So you want to talk about the Epstein files? Go ahead, talk about the Epstein files. But who doesn't want free speech right now? Literally, look who's back. Frickin' Hillary Clinton. She crawled out from her hole and she says she's calling for mass social media censorship right on cue. If these social media platforms don't moderate content, then we lose total control. What she really means is if social media platforms don't moderate content, then my husband is going to get implicated in the Epstein files.
Effects its platforms, whether it's Facebook or Twitter X or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they are, if they don't moderate and monitor the content, we lose total control. And it's not just the social and psychological effects, it's real harm. Platforms, whether it's Facebook.
Real harm to your husband, who really enjoyed his time on the Lolita Express. So all this is going down. And we posted this just about 6 hours ago on X. The war between Elon Musk and Steve Bannon just went nuclear. Elon himself posted that Bannon is in the Epstein files, but how does he know? The FBI says they don't exist. This video breaks it down. Is this the moment that changes everything? We posted, this is a video we posted on our first initial report on this. Continuing, what happens here? They mocked us. They called it a conspiracy, but Musk wasn't bluffing. As head of Doge, he had top secret clearance and full access to follow every tax dollar spent on the Epstein case. From flight logs to hidden budgets, he found what they buried. So let's be clear. Elon Musk didn't hack the system. He was the system. They gave him the keys. He followed the money. And now we know why they're panicking. He has the receipts, every single one. And it's not about gossip. It's about proof. Elon Musk holds the paper trail, the financial smoking gun that exposes the Epstein cover-up. Elon Musk, you have lit the fuse. Now the world is watching. Time for phase 2. Drop the list. We've got your back. Follow the money. Ann Vandersteel replied, she said, Roger Stone Jr. made the same claim. Is there more context? I mean, a file is a file. Context and content are king. Elijah Schaefer. At this point, I can't tell if Elon's trolling or being serious. Hassan, 100%. Elon and Trump need to get it back. United they stand. Divided they, and we all fall. We definitely need them working together again. There's no question we need to get these guys back on the same page. The most powerful man in the world and the richest man in the world. Before I get to the metadata, this just in about 3 hours ago, and we have an update. Dan Bongino will resign from the FBI if Pam Bondi refuses to leave the DOJ, according to the Daily Wire, Mary Margaret Olahan. Now, I've met Mary Margaret at the White House press briefing room. She gets the work done. She says, Eric says, this is getting confirmed everywhere. President Trump is in Texas right now. AG Bondi needs to think about this one and not put Trump in a bad spot. Here we have more.
Considering resign. All right, this breaking news. Sources tell CNN that Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino has told people that he's considering resigning amid a major clash between the FBI and DOJ over the continued fallout from the release, or lack thereof, of the Jeffrey Epstein memo. Joining us right now in Files, joining us right now on the phone is CNN anchor and chief White House correspondent Caitlin Collins. Caitlin, what more are you learning?
Yeah, Fred, it remains to be seen if he actually follows through with what he has told colleagues. But what we do know is that Dan Bongino has told people he is considering resigning as the deputy director of the FBI over the fallout that has continued ever since this memo was released last Sunday. The anger inside the MAGA base has only continued to grow instead of going away, as some officials inside hoped it would. And now our colleagues, along with Christian Holmes, Hannah Rabinowitz, and Evan Perez, we're hearing that he's considering resigning after they had this heated confrontation with the Attorney General Pam Bondi over the handling of this earlier this week. And basically there was a meeting at the White House where the FBI Director, Patel, was there, the White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles. They were questioned about whether they were part of a story, that there was basically some infighting over how this came out, and this memo that said we're not going to be releasing any more information related to Jeffrey Epstein. And I should note that we are told Bongino denied leaking any story to this outlet that it was reported on. But there has been a lot of fighting between Attorney General Pam Bondi specifically and the leadership over at the FBI over who's to blame in this situation. I think the context here is obviously Dan Bongino, Patel. They came from this MAGA world where they themselves had pushed a lot of questions about the so-called client list that Epstein had beforehand. And now the MAGA base is just not pleased or satisfied with what they've said in this memo that came out unsigned from the Justice Department and the FBI on Sunday night. So what we are told is Dan Bongino did not show up to work today, that he is essentially not there out of protest. But whether or not he actually follows through on this still remains to be seen. We're still reporting that out. But it just speaks to the backlash that the White House is very much feeling and understanding after this memo came out, despite President Trump the other day in the cabinet room asking, who still cares about this? One thing we know is the MAGA base certainly does.
All right, Caitlin.
So there you have, that's Caitlin Collins right there. Okay. Excellent reporting from Caitlin Collins. But now we're finding this. This just dropped 49 minutes ago. Dan Bongino is livid reading reports he's leaving the FBI and says they're untrue. Bongino has privately told friends, I'm not going anywhere. He's not happy with the situation and thinks that if anyone should leave, it should be Pam Bondi. Huh. You see what's going on here? Now check this out. Todd Blanche. Who is Todd Blanche? Todd Blanche is the Deputy Attorney General serving under the leadership of AG Pam Bondi and the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. So what did Todd Blanche have to say? 7 hours ago, he posted this. He said, I worked closely with FBI Director Cash and FBI DD Bongino on the joint FBI DOJ memo regarding the Epstein files. All of us signed off on the contents of the memo and the conclusion stated in the memo. The suggestion by anyone that there was any daylight between the FBI and DOJ leadership on this memo's composition and release is patently false. Well, he's getting roasted right now. Here is Robbie Starbuck. This doesn't help. Release Epstein's financial transactions if you want credibility back. Okay, what does that say? What did we frickin' tell you the other day? Who had access to the books? Rocket Man himself had access to the books. Robbie Starbuck gets it. Release the financial transactions. Elites can then explain their transactions with him, and people can decide if explanations make sense. Laura Loomer says, how come nobody signed their name to the memo? Remember that memo? I noticed that too. There was no signatures, no signatories to that paper. Laura says, my sources tell me the FBI wanted to release more information about Jeffrey Epstein, and Pam Bondi and her DOJ said no. This has caused tension between Bondi, Cash, and Bongino. As for transparency isn't difficult. Bondi is literally blowing up the Trump administration by concealing information, spending time on Fox News, lying to the MAGA base, and by releasing contradictory statements. There's information that can be released the public wants to see. Why was the memo released on a Sunday night on the 4th of July weekend with no official signage and no names of any admin officials? You only release memos on Sunday evening on holiday weekends when you don't want anyone paying attention to the contents. Trump team needs to read the room. Blondie's been very damaging to the admin, has damaged public trust from the DOJ. She's hurting President Trump and his staff and advisors. She lied on national TV and needs to be held accountable for harming the Trump administration and public trust. Okay. Cernovich, he weighs in 6 hours ago. Please unseal the search warrants. Only DOJ can do this. It can be done this afternoon. A lot of low-hanging fruit, transparency-wise, which hasn't been released. Easy to start with the search warrants. Gunter Eagleman. Todd, this is a horrible look on the FBI and DOJ. Who leaked the draft memo to Axios? Who leaked the draft memo to Axios? Who? Why were there no signatures? And why did it take hours for anyone in the admin to address it? This doesn't even cover the lies told in the memo. These agencies, including you, are lying. Rasmussen reports, weighs in. What genius leaked it to Axios for a Sunday night data dump? Oh, that's right. That PR disaster nugget remains classified. On a holiday Sunday night, directly after the passage of the big historic bill, large patriotic White House rally, someone leaks the memo. Yeah, here's the memo. This is the one that's causing all the chaos. No signers. Do you see any signatures? I don't see any signatures there. So all day, we have been trying our damnedest to get this information in front of Elon Musk. As you can see, 6 hours ago, I tagged Elon Musk because we need to talk. We need to clear the air. We need to heal. We need to heal this party. We need to bring everyone back to the get together. We need to get to the truth. One of our associates, Adam Lowitz, has been working tirelessly spreading that very thread that we posted on every single one of Elon Musk's posts. Now, interesting to note, Elon Musk does actually follow Adam Lowitz. So the probability of Elon seeing what we have put out into the public is highly probable. And then there's this. Adam writes, hey, Elon, did you see this? At a Turning Point event, Steve Bannon declared his number one mission is to destroy you and your companies. This guy has gone off the rails. Trump needs to talk to Bannon and his clique and tell them to knock it off. And what happened? Boom. Elon Musk replied to him 32 minutes ago. Back to prison for Bannon. That's what Elon just posted. Back to prison for Bannon. Adam says we have to push back on Steve Bannon and Sergio Gore. It is my opinion that they are bad for Trump. And then, boom, what does he do? He posts the link to our thread. But that is only the tip of the iceberg today. I want to get to what Alex Jones had to say. But first, we have this. Interesting. Grace Chong posts this. Listen to this. Now, I believe that this was just recorded at the Student Action Summit with Turning Point. You can see there is Jack Posobiec. You have Steve Bannon, Natalie Winters on the stage. Let's listen in.
To DNI, the only way this thing, the firestorm, passes is if the 5 to 10 to maybe 15% of the Trump movement, the Pepes and the hardcores, many of whom are in this audience, just say, I've had enough of it. The Epstein situation gets down to one basic question. One basic question. Who governs this country? Right? Who governs this country? Is it a shadowy network of intelligence, MI6, Saudi intelligence, the Mossad, CIA, elements of DNI with other international financiers and corporations and governments? Or do the people of the United States govern? All that information has come out, and the people have to weigh and measure it itself. This is the most populist thing we can do right now. The only way
So that was just posted. But here's my question. Steve Bannon's out there screaming about get to the bottom of the Epstein, get to the bottom of the Epstein. Steve, you got 15 hours of video footage of interviews with the guy. Okay? And here we are begging for a list that we know exists. We covered it yesterday. We have the evidence exhibit number. Okay? You've got 15 hours of footage. I bet you in those 15 hours of footage, Epstein, talking to you across the room, answers the very questions that you brought up in that clip I just played. So can we get some answers? Can we get some footage? What happened to your show, your movie, The Monsters? I saw the trailer. It looked compelling. I was anxious to see it. Elon Musk, he's declared Bannon's in the files. Yes. I mean, Bannon was coaching Epstein for media to do interviews before he was ever arrested. Okay, so now we know that Epstein was actually paying Steve Bannon. No one does media coaching for free. No one does consulting for free. So if there's anything that we know that's 100% is that there is a financial paper trail going from Epstein to Bannon for consulting on media. And then, of course, there's the whole documentary called The Monsters. So is Bannon in the Epstein files? Follow the money. Follow the money. Elon Musk, Doge, follow the money. Now, of course, I'm not saying that Steve Bannon was involved in any criminal activity. That's not anything close to what I'm saying. Hired as a consultant for media coaching. But straight up, why the hell would you want to coach this guy? How much was that paycheck? Spare me. Good God. There's more. There is more, folks. We're not done. I want to bring up this. This is what I mentioned at the open here. Metadata shows the footage from Epstein's cell released by the DOJ was edited with Adobe Premiere Pro, stitched from 2 clips, and was saved 4 times. That's according to Wired magazine. And here we have this. Alan Dershowitz, we played this yesterday, but it bears repeating. Alan Dershowitz said he saw the entire Epstein list while proving his innocence.
This is not an opinion. This is a fact. I have seen. Remember, I was accused falsely on the Epstein, and ultimately I was completely cleared. The woman admitted that she may have mistook me for somebody else and withdrew all of her lawsuits. And so from day one, from the day I was accused, I said I want every document out because I knew every document would prove I was innocent. So let me tell you, I know for a fact documents are being suppressed. And they're being suppressed to protect individuals. I know the names of the individuals. I know why they're being suppressed. I know who's suppressing them. But I'm bound by confidentiality from a judge and cases, and I can't disclose what I know. But I hand to God, I know the names of people whose files are being suppressed in order to protect them, and that's wrong.
Just out of curiosity, without names, are these politicians, business leaders, both?
They're everything. And let me tell you, a lot of them are, at least one of them is somebody who was accused. Others are accusers. And the judges have said, if somebody calls themselves a victim, we're not going to give any information about them. But they may not be victims. They may be perpetrators. So we don't have information about false accusers. And we know there have been many false accusers who have accused innocent people for money. And those records are being deliberately, willfully suppressed. And they shouldn't be suppressed. If the accusation is allowed out, so should the material that diminishes the credibility of the accuser. We want total transparency on this. Every single document, no redaction. That's what I've said from day one. I waive any of my rights of privacy. Anything there is about me, I'm happy because it will be exculpatory, because I know I haven't touched a woman other than my wife from the day I met Jeffrey Epstein. I don't even hug people, but I was falsely accused and I was able to prove it. And I was able to prove it through documents. And I want other people to be able to disprove false accusations through documents. But these documents are being suppressed and withheld. This is not an opinion.
Yeah, that's where we're at. And Hillary Clinton's calling for internet censorship. FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino considers resigning over the Epstein fallout. This is all over the place. Alex Jones, AG Pam Bondi to take the blame for the Epstein case, whitewash political firestorm before her ultimate removal, according to FBI and White House intel sources.
Great knack for. Here's the intel I've got from multiple FBI sources and White House connected sources. One of them being Carl Serafin, who's really proven he's really dialed in and has a great knack for figuring out what's going on. There is orders obviously coming down from the top, Trump, to move on from the Epstein thing. And so when this fiasco came out with them giving mixed messages on the Epstein files, the first move was to blame Pam Bondi, who Susie Wiles likes, Trump likes, but everybody else doesn't like, and reportedly is on her way out in the near future. At least people are pushing for that. Bongino will probably resign, if not now, soon. And then he can keep his honor and go back to the media. And Kash Patel is really the guy that the establishment likes. I'm not saying he's overall a bad person, but because of some of the issues and some of his congressional testimony that they could call perjury, that they still let slip through, that he's more and more what the Washington system actually likes. And so that's where we're at on all of this. I wanted to get Robert Barnes's take on what I'm saying here on air, and the fact that I don't believe this Epstein Streisand effect's going away. I think what's gone on the last few months, really intensifying last week, is only going to get more intense now. That's my view. I think it's a giant distraction.
Yep, it's only going to get more intense. Get me Roger Stone right now. FBI Director Dan Bongino reportedly taking a brief leave of absence following the heated clash with Attorney General Pam Bondi. Gateway Pundit reports this 5 hours ago. Over 11,571 Epstein documents currently on appeal in one FOIA case And guess who's involved? Maureen Comey. Comey. Where have I heard that name before? Let's dive deeper. The public was told no more Epstein files will be forthcoming. Officials implied the only Epstein-related documents left were CP that could, of course, not be released. The Justice Department had a memo released on Sunday. No further disclosure would be appropriate or warranted about the Epstein case. But one pending FOIA appeal by two litigants in New York that the DOJ's Maureen Comey is due to respond to later this month has identified at least 11,571 more FBI documents alone related to the Epstein affair, almost all of them as of yet unreleased. This in addition to the estimated 3 million documents the government gave to Ghislaine Maxwell to prepare her defense, and they still are active in that case. The ongoing litigation relates to the FOIA request filed by media entities to release Epstein-related documents, litigation filed by Radar Online and James Robertson over a FOIA originally filed 8 years ago. 8 years. The 11,571 documents the FBI already admits are responsive to a search for Epstein documents. Here it is. Despite the FBI identifying at least 11,571 pages of responsive documents, 10,107 of those pages remain withheld nearly 21 years after the events at issue. So there are still 11,571 documents that the FBI declares they have on FOIA, and James Comey's daughter. Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, right. We're going to see anything from that. Here we have unfiltered boss. Pam Bondi is a bought and paid for political hack who has a history of making problems go away for people in power. That's exactly why Donald Trump made her his attorney general. What do we have here?
Against Trump. But as 10 News reporter Phil Buck explains, the two have a controversial history dating back to before Trump ever jumped into the presidential race.
Well, President Trump, he knows he has an ally in Pam Bondi, the Tampa native and the former state AJ. She's no stranger to scandals involving both of them. So let's pick things up in September 2013. Bondi's office announces she's looking into investigating complaints against Trump University and its affiliates. 4 days later, and Justice for All, which was a political group backing Bondi's re-election campaign, they get a check for $25,000 from the nonprofit Trump Foundation. A few weeks later, well, Bondi says, she's actually not going to file suit against Trump over those Trump University complaints. Fast forward now to March 2016, a campaign rally right here in Tampa. Bondi gets up on stage and endorses Donald Trump for president. The following week, Trump representatives, they acknowledged that illegal donation. They blamed it on a series of clerical errors. And then in July, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, they file a complaint asking for an investigation into whether or not Bondi broke the law by not pursuing legal action against Trump University. A couple of months later, the Washington Post reports that the IRS fined the Trump Foundation for that illegal donation. Less than 2 weeks after that, September 13th, 2016, Crew then files criminal bribery complaints against both Trump and Bondi with the Department of Justice. So now let's fast forward another 2 years. That brings us up to 2018, December. Trump is now the president, and the Trump Foundation officially shuts down amid all of this controversy. And then we skip again ahead to just last week. On Wednesday, we start to hear reports coming out that Bondi is going to be joining the White House communications team. And then on Thursday of last week, a judge orders the president to pay $2 million for misusing his nonprofit, the Trump Foundation, to further his campaign for president. So those are all the dots. Doesn't take a whole lot of effort to connect them all.
Okay, so that video, that news report, that was a local news report from 2019. That shows you the relationship between Bondi and Trump and how far back it goes. Those are a hell of a lot of dots to connect. Continuing with our investigation here. Here we have Victor Davis Hanson with Glenn Beck breaking down what Vigilant Fox says might be the clearest, most damning explanation yet for Epstein's real role and why the files are not public.
What do you think this is really about?
I think it's pretty clear now that Epstein had no talent other than blackmail, and he was not a financier. He was not a captain of finance at all. What he did is he invited very powerful people to his island or his New York home, filmed them, and then he bribed them, and he shook them down and said, I'm going to be your quote unquote financial advisor, and in exchange for that, I'm not going to release all that stuff. And whether, there were some pretty big people. So why
isn't it being exposed?
Because I think there are people in the establishment. I don't know if they partook in his sick things he was doing, but they feel they have some association with him, and they have they gave him money to invest when there was no reason to hire someone like that. There were much better financial gurus, but he got $500 million somehow from people who were mainstream establishmentarians on the basis that he was going to blackmail him. I think that's how he made his money. And I think those names are numerous. And I think the Trump administration thought, well, we're going to release this, and there's some crazy people that we don't care about are going to be embarrassed. And then all of a sudden, they got a lot of calls and said, why are you doing this? I didn't do this. I went down to the island once. I was on a plane. I didn't touch anybody. And they're saying, and now you're going to release my name and I'll be guilty by, I'm not going to. I think that's what's happening. There's a lot of people who were very powerful that were giving him money or were trafficking with him. Not necessarily all of them engaging in what he was doing, but just the association with him. And I think they're putting pressure on people. I really do.
What do you think this is really about?
Yeah, that makes a hell of a lot of sense. Now enter Mike. Oh wait, we found the missing footage, the missing 60 seconds. Yep, you could see Barney the dinosaur. I kid. Of course, I have to give you the disclaimer. It's AI you're watching there, Barney the dinosaur, and the missing minute of the Epstein footage. Okay. Now, 11 hours ago, Mike Benz enters the scene. If Pam Bondi's DOJ is serious about transparency around Epstein's intelligence ties, the DOJ will immediately make public the DOJ's OPR 2020 transcribed interview with Alex Acosta with a full set of questions about the intelligence issue, so we know exactly what was asked. Let's listen.
2019. I have this presentation I'm working on. That'll be up tomorrow. This is a placeholder. I'm just going to say what it is. The 2008 plea deal review that was done by the Justice Department's Office of Professional Responsibility can answer publicly once and for all the question that has hung over the Epstein case for the since 2019 as to whether or not the Vicky Ward story about Epstein belonged to intelligence, or at least that Alex Acosta, the then Justice Department official who gave the sweetheart deal to Epstein in 2008, was, quote, told to back off of Epstein because he belonged to intelligence and it was above his pay grade. The question about whether or not Vicky Ward's reporting was accurate has been a giant mystery that's hung over this. There are two separate lines of inquiry about the intelligence question. One is, was Jeffrey Epstein working with U.S. and or foreign intelligence agencies? And two, if yes, did that influence in any way the course of prosecutions of Epstein while he was carrying on these activities for so long? We don't know as a public what our own Justice Department has even investigated about that. But I can tell you where to look for it. All of this has been neatly compiled and remains private in the hands of the DOJ. And I'm going to explain this to you now. The short request, the super easy version, is this. See, this is a footnote. It's a footnote on page 169 of the 348-page November 2020 Office of Professional Responsibility review, the ethics review of the Alex Acosta plea deal from 2008. This footnote, that's all there is in public transparency about what the Justice Department asked Alex Acosta about Epstein's intelligence ties. Now, I'll be explaining in the video that I'll publish after I wake up why it is this footnote is so consequential. The short version of that is that the Vicky Ward article alleging that Alex Acosta told Trump's transition officials that he was told to back up Epstein because he belonged to intelligence, that came out on July 9th, 2019. The following day, Alex Acosta had a press conference, a public press conference, where he refused to either confirm or deny that reporting. And then the answer, we were supposed to be satisfied because of this very report, this months long, took them 9 months to do this report, that was supposed to answer all the lingering questions about Epstein in November 2020. For reasons I will explain in the formal video, the questions that were asked on this single half a page, and the only specificity being in a single footnote, were not responsive to the nature of the intelligence relationship that Epstein would have had. And we don't even know what Justice Department officials asked Alex Acosta.
So Mike Benz is on the case as well, breaking it down. Here is that moment. 6 hours ago, Red Wave Press posted that the FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino took a day off last Friday after clashing with Bondi over the dispute over the missing minute. The dispute blew up Wednesday over missing minute, the 10-hour surveillance footage.
JFK. Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file, along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein.
We just want the list, honey. Laura Loomer, 6 hours ago, Axios and Mark A. Caputo just confirmed my report about Dan Bongino taking the day off amid speculation he might resign as Deputy FBI Director over his frustration with Pam Bondi's botching the Epstein files, lack of transparency at the DOJ. What is she posting here? This is a video
out there. Listen,
here's Dan Bongino in 2023.
Listen, that Jeffrey Epstein story is a big deal. Please do not let that story go. Keep your eye on this. Catherine Rumler, we need to keep the heat on this case, folks. There are a lot of people who are knee deep in the Washington swamp who are not telling you the truth about serious allegations out there that Epstein may have had video and audio of people out there doing things they shouldn't have been doing. And you should be asking yourself the question, how is it that all these people, the CIA director, the Obama fixer, Bill Clinton, all intersected paths with Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein isn't with us anymore, and nobody seems to want to talk about it outside of a few entrepreneurial media outlets saying, hey, this is a big deal.
He killed him.
And now we have Dan Bongino, flash forward, 2025.
Himself. You want me to get, I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
Listen,
okay. So which one is it? Now Dan Bongino, clearly pissed off about what's going on with the Pam Bondi's botched rollout here. Here's Alex about 24 hours ago digesting Trump's response.
Trump has responded. President Trump has now responded through a surrogate, Bill O'Reilly, to the Jeffrey Epstein case whitewash cover-up firestorm, now in its fourth day engulfing the internet and threatening the very future of MAGA. But finally, Trump has responded. We're about to break it down right now.
Okay, so yes, Trump has responded. We do have that as well. We'll get to that. Here is Megyn Kelly. I think Pam Bondi was thirsty for attention. What?
Like, I think she was thirsty for attention. I think she was enjoying the hits on Fox, on Hannity, on Waters, in the middle of the day with John Roberts, and saying, like, I've got all the answers on Epstein. I've got all the juicy dish, and I'll be the one to give it to you, until she either found out that wasn't true and realized this is why attorneys general don't talk like this ever about their ongoing investigations, ever. You almost never hear from attorney general. It's the one person in any administration, Republican or Democrat, who you really can't get. There's only so much transparency you're supposed to get, attorney general, given the way criminal investigations work. And then realize, like, she had an oh shit moment of she's humiliated herself and the administration. Or again, I don't know, something else. Or it was real in the first place, and now she's doing the lying. This, I don't know the truth on.
Megyn Kelly. Let's see, where is that? Okay, here. Okay, here's Laura Loomer now.
That promise. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we were promised one thing, and we have not received that promise. So I hope that President Trump will fix this by firing Pam Bondi and committing to have real transparency at the DOJ. If Pam Bondi wants to be his friend or his ally on the outside, great, fine. But we need an attorney general who's going to be a real killer. We need an attorney general who isn't going to lie, who isn't going to be addicted to going on Fox News, and who isn't going to jeopardize midterm elections and cause President Trump to hemorrhage support from the base. I'm not saying that I'm not supporting the president. Of course, I support President Trump. I'm just saying that there are a lot of people online right now and a lot of people in the base who are saying that they're done because this is something that shouldn't even be a partisan issue. And I blame Pam Bondi. I really do. And Trump was the one who appointed her, and Trump can be the one to fire her if she doesn't have enough dignity and shame to resign, the same way that Alex Acosta resigned in 2019 when his own scandal regarding his involvement with the Epstein files became too big of a distraction for the Trump administration. I mean, look, at the end of the day,
Yeah, let's get to that. I know I have the clip here. Where is this it? Here it is. This is the reference that Alex had made just a few minutes ago.
There are a lot of names. I talked to President Trump man to man.
With respect, here's Bill O'Reilly.
I talked to President Trump man to man, eye to eye, on St. Patrick's Day about this and the Kennedy files and the King files. It was all one conversation. And he said, and I agree, there are a lot of names associated with Epstein that had nothing to do with Epstein's conduct. They maybe had lunch with him or maybe had some correspondence for one thing or another. If that name gets out, those people are destroyed because there's not going to be any context. Media doesn't care about context. So you can't do that. You can't destroy human beings by putting out the files, whatever they may be. I talked to President Trump man to man.
So there is Bill O'Reilly weighing in, but this is the current state of affairs at the White House. There is the perfect visual representation of this moment in American history. There's only one person laughing, and that's Jeffrey Epstein. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is right now. So this is not just palace intrigue. This is the systematic destruction of trust in our institutions. When Elon Musk can casually drop that Steve Bannon is in the Epstein files, while the FBI denies they exist, we've crossed into dangerous territory. Either Elon's bluffing, which seems unlikely, or there's information being hidden at the highest levels. And the fact that forensic analysis proves that the Epstein footage was edited should send chills down every American's spine. And Dan Bongino threatening to resign tells you everything. Even Trump's handpicked patriots cannot stomach what is happening behind closed doors. Now, this is bigger than party politics. This is about whether we will ever know the truth about the most explosive blackmail operation in history. So here is my question for you. Do you believe the Epstein files will ever be fully released? Yes or no? Drop your answer below. And while you're at it, check out our merch shop linked in the description. Wear your defiance proudly.